This might just be my last video on YouTube, because after this, I have nothing more to teach you. In all seriousness though, I will keep uploading, but what I'm sharing with you today will help you become your own coaches and give you a fantastic framework to design your own training sessions. The first thing you need to do is set objectives and skills that you want to improve. Before you can even create a good training session, you need to figure out what you want to get out of that session first. So the first step is assessing what you need to improve in your own game. If you don't know where to start, ask your coaches for advice on what skills you need to improve in and focus on those. But make sure you're only working on 2 to 3 skills at one time. In my own experience, I've seen greater improvements when people consistently focus on a couple of skills every single day, rather than trying to work on everything at once. Really develop those few skills, and then once you've improved on them, move on to improving your new weaknesses. And these should be the 2 or 3 most important skills for you to improve on right now. Now you may notice that in my full training session videos that they may improve many parts of your game rather than just 1 or 2 skills. And this is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it might seem like that, but in reality, they are focused on a couple of skills, but also touch on the other aspects of the game. Let's look back at my last video for strikers. In this session, you'd improve your dribbling, passing, finishing, long shots, first touch, quickness, and crossing. But the focus of it is just on your first touch, finishing, and dribbling. The other aspects are touched on by association. In order to work on first touch, there also must be passing, right? I hope that makes sense. Additionally, sometimes I design these sessions to give you a variety of drills, not so that you copy my session as a whole, but instead you take drills from it and incorporate it into your own sessions. Rather than it being a perfect training session, it is more like a collection of drills for you to pick from and try out yourself. Additionally, when designing your own sessions, you need to consider what you need to improve those 2 or 3 skills you picked. For example, maybe working on shooting isn't the best use of your time if you only have access to 1 soccer ball. You'd probably want at least 4 balls if you were going to do shooting, so that way you aren't just chasing your ball the entire time. In this case, maybe you should work on dribbling or passing and first touch against the wall. But when you have access to certain tools, make sure that you use it. For example, you need a partner to work on 1v1s, but sometimes you may not have access to a friend. So when you do get together with a friend or a teammate, don't just do dribbling. Take that opportunity to improve on 1v1s, since you can do dribbling on your own. Whenever you need to improve on a skill that requires something that you don't have access to often, make sure that you work on it whenever you have the chance. Once you've decided what skills you want to improve on, now you need to research or create drills to improve these skills. For example, let's say I need to work on close control dribbling. How do you improve that? Well, you can either take 10 to 15 minutes to brainstorm ideas, or you can look up ideas. In this example, I might want to look up ball mastery exercises. Let's start with the Google search and see what I find. I've always preferred looking drills on YouTube anyways, so let's check there. Perfect. Then you watch the video and use some of the drills in your next training session. While it may be easier and more efficient to find drills on YouTube, try taking the time to brainstorm ideas yourself. Get creative with it and come up with your own ideas. Then try them out and see if they work or if they need to be tweaked a little bit. Some of my favorite drills that I use the most often, I came up with by myself, or I got inspiration from somewhere else and I made a few changes to make it better for me in my own game. It also gives you a sense of pride when you're doing the drill too, since you came up with it, and it can make it overall more enjoyable too. And if you've enjoyed the video so far, or have learned something from it, please leave a like. It's an easy way to support me and I really appreciate it. Thank you. Now that you know what you're going to work on and have drills selected for it, you need to consider the stages of the training session. All of my training sessions will follow a similar outline because that is how I like to have my sessions set up. For example, I start off all my sessions with the warm-up, and this might just be dynamic stretching or low intensity dribbling, but it serves the same purpose. Then, I may throw in some change of direction or footwork in too to improve my agility and quickness as a player. And this also gets my body physically ready for training. So then I'll transition into a technical warm-up. My body is physically ready, but now I'm getting used to the feeling of the ball at my foot and making sure I'm focused and using the proper technique. This may be additional dribbling or passing against the wall or even hitting some low-driven crosses. And after that, I like to get all my hard work in. I'm warmed up, my touch is primed, so now it's time to do all my drills that are of higher intensity. And this is where I get all my physically demanding work done. I do this before any technical training because I don't want my body to cool down before doing the higher intensity exercises. That may lead to injury or decrease the quality of my hard work. This section is where I put my sprint work or dribbling at speed work, for example. And finally, I end off the session with technical training. This is where I practice crossing, finishing, long balls, or things of that nature. It doesn't require much movement or motion, but it is all about improving my technique. I also do this here because this is when my fatigue is the highest, and that is the challenge. My technique is great when I'm fresh, but I need my technique to be on point when it is the 80th minute of a game and I'm tired. Now, you don't have to use this outline yourself, but it is an example of an outline for you. You need to figure out what works best for you and design all your training sessions into that structure. The next thing you should do is plan the session before going to the field. This is the number one reason why your training sessions aren't as good as they should be. Don't come up with your training plan on the fly at the field. While you may create a brilliant session, others are just gonna suck. Bare minimum, plan out your sessions the day before you train. And this helps for two reasons. Firstly, your session will be better because you'll have time to find the drills you want to use rather than having to do the same cone weave since you don't know any other drills. Secondly, sometimes it's hard to find motivation to train that day. If you've already planned out your full session, then you're less inclined to skip the session entirely or skip parts of the session because you don't feel like it. I'd recommend getting about a week ahead when making your training schedule. So just pick a day and come up with that week's schedule on that day every week. For example, every Sunday, sit down and take 30 minutes to an hour maximum to plan what your training sessions are gonna be for the following week and do this every single Sunday. Once you get into the flow of it, it becomes so much easier. Now that you have the plan fully made, you can make small changes to the plan the day of it if needed. The beauty of setting up and organizing a training schedule ahead of time is that you're more likely to push yourself to train harder, and it's important to adhere to the schedule as much as possible. However, there's times when you do need to make small changes. Sometimes people don't show up for training when they said they are, so you would have to adjust based off of numbers. Or sometimes you wake up and your body is really sore and hurting real bad. You need to be aware of your body and make small adjustments to your plan when necessary. Figure out when you need to work through the discomfort and soreness to get in better shape, but on the flip side, when do you need to pull back on training, since pushing yourself further may cause your current discomfort to become a long-term injury. And obviously, it's better to take one day off than push through and get hurt for a month. And it's a tight line to walk. So push yourself to find your limit, and then once you've found it, back off and be smart. For example, if your right quad is really bothering you, maybe you shouldn't do that finishing at the end that you had planned, but you can do juggling or dribbling or something like that instead. Use these 5 steps when planning your own training sessions, and I guarantee they'll be much better sessions than the ones you've been doing recently. And if you want to see an example of a session using these steps, then watch this video. It's perfect for you. Thanks for watching.